Hi everyone. Welcome to this training video. Today we will be looking at the 5-liter oxygen concentrator, manufactured by Canta. This oxygen concentrator is capable of producing close to 100% pure oxygen, at a rate of 0 to 5 liters per minute. Looking at the front of the unit, and starting on the left, here we have the on and off switch. If I switch the unit on now, it will give a visual alarm, and a beeping noise. This is because the unit is not plugged into the mains power. So if you ever experience this kind of alarm, you can immediately know that the problem is you have no power going into the unit. Below that we have the nebulizer nozzle. This model can also do nebulization, so you don't have to go out and buy a separate nebulizer. At the top left you have a miniature circuit breaker. If the unit ever draws too much current for any reason, the circuit breaker will break the flow of current to protect the internal electronic components. If this happens, simply wait a few minutes, then push the circuit breaker button back in and restart the unit. If this happens repeatedly, you should send the unit in for repairs. On the right-hand side you have a flow meter, with which you can adjust the oxygen flow out of the unit. Anything from 0 to 5 liters per minute is possible. And below the flow meter is the oxygen output nozzle. In the middle you have the LCD screen, which displays the total amount of hours that the unit has worked, as well as the amount of time it has been used in any specific session. There are also some buttons with which you can adjust the timer. With the timer function you can set a specific amount of time that you want to use the unit for, and after the timer has counted down to 0, it will give you a prompt. There are also some lights which serve as visual alarms. They will warn you about specific fault conditions that may arise, such as low oxygen purity, overheating, or low pressure. Should any of these alarms go off, please send your unit in for repairs. Next we will have a look at what comes with the unit. First and most important, the user manual. Please read through the user manual carefully, as you will get a lot more valuable information from it than from this video alone. Next you have 2 spare filters. I will show you how to replace these at the end of this video. Then you also have a humidifier bottle. You should fill this with distilled water for use with the oxygen concentrator. Next you have the nebulization cup and piping, which you can use to administer a nebulization treatment. You also get a nasal cannula that you will use to administer the oxygen to the patient. And lastly you have a power cord that you will use to provide power to your oxygen concentrator. Now we will have a look at how to connect all the loose components to your oxygen concentrator. Firstly, plug the power cord into a wall socket and the other end into the power receptacle at the back of the concentrator. Then plug your nebulization cup and tubing into the nebulizer nozzle. Next, connect your humidifier bottle, now filled with distilled water, to the oxygen output nozzle, using the short piece of tubing provided. And connect the nasal cannula to the output of the humidifier bottle. Your oxygen concentrator is now correctly set up and ready to use. To run the unit, simply switch it on at the switch on the left here, and adjust the flow meter to the required flow. Anything between 0 and 5 liters per minute is possible, depending on the patient requirements. Now take the oxygen cannula and wrap the tubing around the patient's head, making sure that the nasal prongs sit firmly in the patient's nostrils. If you want to use the nebulization function, simply fill the nebulization cup with the prescribed amount of medication, then connect the nebulizer tubing to the nebulizer nozzle, and turn it clockwise to open. When you see vapor emanating from the nebulizer cup, the patient can start breathing in the vapor. Lastly, we will look at replacing the filters at the back of the unit. You have 2 different filters at the back. To access these, simply open the filter access panel. You will see the black dust filter, and inside a plastic shell, you will see a white particle filter. The black dust filter can be cleaned by simply rinsing it under running water and replacing it once it is dried out. The white particle filter, however, cannot be cleaned, and it is recommended that you replace this filter every 3,000 hours or every 6 months, whichever comes first. Also be sure to send in your unit every 2,000 hours for preventive maintenance and servicing. This will ensure that your oxygen concentrator always gives you the purest oxygen possible and prevent potentially costly breakdowns. Thank you for watching this video and enjoy using your Canta O2 Oxygen Concentrator.